Good morning, children. How are you, children? I hope all of you are fine. Today, class for ninth, the subject is biological science. In previous class, in plant tissue lesson, we discussed the one of the activity observation of onion cell means onion root tip cells under the microscope. Okay. So, what is the definition of tissue? Tissue means nothing but a group of cells that are similar in structures. What? A group of cells that are similar in structures and perform similar functions are called as tissue. Are called as tissue. A group of cells that are similar in structure and perform similar function are called as tissues. Okay, a group of cells that are similar in structures and perform similar functions are called as tissues. Listen, children, carefully. One day, one girl went to the garden. Okay, at the time, she saw one tree stump. అంటే చెట్టు మోడు మీన్స్ నథింగ్ బట్ వితౌట్ బ్రాంచెస్ ఓన్లీ ద స్టెమ్ అప్ ద ట్రీ have only stem up to certain height but that don't have branches and leaves. And at the garden she observed that gardener watering to that stump ఆ యొక్క చెట్టు మోడికి వాటర్ అనేది పోస్తున్నాడు. At the time, she feel surprised and asked the gardener, "Why are you watering to this stump? It doesn't have any branches and leaves. Then why you watering to this stump?" Then the gardener answered to that girl, "This stump also have life. When I water to this stump, soon it bear leaves within a short period of time." He replied to that girl. Is it possible? Now we have to know about the answer for that one. Okay, carefully listen. Children, you know about the tissue meaning. Group of cells that are similar in structures and perform similar structure are called as similar function are called as tissues. Basically, there are four type of tissues are present in the plant body. Okay, basically how many type of tissues are present in the plant body? Basically, there are four types of tissues are present in the plant body. One is meristematic tissues. The second one is dermal tissues. Okay, one is meristematic tissues. The second one is dermal tissue. The third one is ground tissue. Fourth one is vascular tissues. There are basically four types of plant tissues are there. One is meristematic tissue. The second one is dermal tissue. The third one is ground tissues. Fourth one is vascular tissue. What are meristematic tissues? The tissues that brings about overall growth of the plant. The tissues that brings about overall growth of the plant body and cell repair are called as meristematic tissues. The tissues that brings about overall growth in the plant body and cell repair are called as meristematic tissues. Okay, the tissues that brings about overall growth in the plant body and cell repair are called as meristematic tissues. Next one is dermal tissues. The type of plant tissues that forms outer coverings in the plant body are called as dermal tissue. The type of plant tissues that forms outer coverings in the plant body are called as dermal tissues. Third one, ground tissue. The type of plant tissues that forms bulk of the plant body are called as ground tissues. The type of plant tissues that forms bulk of the plant body are called as ground tissue. Bulk means nothing but the inner tissues. Okay. Inner means inside the plants also so many tissues are present. So to fill this gap up, these ground tissues are present in the plant body. Next, vascular tissue. The plant tissues that helps in the transportation of materials, nothing but water and nutrients and minerals from the soil to the plant body. Okay. The tissues that helps in the transportation of materials in the plant body are called as vascular tissues. The tissues that helps in the transportation of materials in the plant body are called as vascular tissues. Today we are discussing about the meristematic tissues. Today we are discussing about what? Meristematic tissues. So what are meristematic tissues? The type of tissues that brings about overall growth in plant body and cell repair are called as meristematic tissues. Again, meristematic tissues are classified into three types. Again, meristematic tissues are classified into how many types? Three types. One is apical meristematic tissue. Second one is lateral meristematic tissues. The third one is intercalary meristematic tissues. Okay, again meristematic tissue is classified into how many types? Three types. One is apical meristematic tissue. The second one is lateral meristematic tissue. Third one is intercalary meristematic tissue. What is apical meristematic tissue? The type of meristematic tissue that helps the plant to grow inland. The type of meristematic tissue that helps the plant to grow in length are called as apical meristematic tissue. So normally this apical meristematic tissue is present at the tip of the plant body. Tips means konala deggara, either it may be stem or root. Example, we observe this apical meristematic tissue at the shoot tip. Shoot means stem tip, and root tip veru kona bhagam. Okay, where do we observe this apical meristematic tissue? At the shoot tip and root tip we observe the apical meristematic tissue. Okay, the type of meristematic tissue that helps the plant body to grow in length are called as apical meristematic tissue. Normally, we can observe this apical meristematic tissue at the tip of the plant body. Example, shoot tip and root tip. Shoot tip helps the plant to grow in height, and the root tip helps the plant to grow or to penetrate the root into very deep into the soil. So this is about the apical meristematic tissue. Next, lateral meristematic tissue. The type of meristematic tissue that is responsible to increase the girth of the stem is called as lateral meristematic tissue. Okay, the type of meristematic tissue that increases the girth of the stem means nothing but చెట్టు యొక్క కాండం మందం పెరగడానికి useful a tissue. Okay, the type of meristematic tissue that increases girth of the stem is called as lateral meristematic tissue. So finally intercalary meristematic tissue. The type of meristematic tissue which is present where the branching is taking place and where the flower stalks grows is called as intercalary meristematic tissue. Okay, the type of meristematic tissue present where branching is taking place and where the flower stalk grows is called as intercalary meristematic tissue. So these are the three types of meristematic tissue. One is apical meristematic tissue. The second one is lateral meristematic tissue. The third one is intercalary meristematic tissue. Next, what are the characteristics of the meristematic tissue cells? The cells of the meristematic tissue are very small and compactly arranged without intercellular spaces. Okay, the cells of the meristematic tissue are very small and compactly arranged without intercellular spaces, means tightly arranged, compactly means. Next, the cell wall of the cell are very thin. The cell wall of the cells are very thin and a prominent nucleus is present inside the cells. A prominent nucleus is present inside the cell. Next, abundantly means something but abundant cytoplasm is present inside the cells. Abundant cytoplasm is present inside the cell, and the cells are continuously dividing in the meristematic tissue. The cells of the meristematic tissue are continuously dividing. Okay, the cells of the meristematic tissue are small and compactly arranged without intercellular spaces, and the cell wall of the cell are very thin, and a prominent nucleus is present. Abundant cytoplasm is present inside the cell. The cells are continuously dividing. So these are the characteristics of the meristematic tissue. Next, dermal tissue. The type of plant tissue that forms outer coverings in the plant body are called as dermal tissues. Normally, the dermal tissue is divided into three parts. One is epidermis, outer layer. The second one is mesodermis, middle layer. Endodermis, inner layer. And you know that the dermal tissue also present in the leaves. And the cell wall of the dermal tissue are very thick, and even sometimes coated with wax substance in desert plants. Okay, compared to, you know that one, the cells of the meristematic tissue are very thin, palachaga untai, and opposite to that one, the cells of the dermal tissue are very thick, sometimes coated with waxy substance in desert plants. And you know that stomata also one type of dermal tissue only. You know that one, the stomata plays very important role in the gaseous exchange, and each stomata is lined with the kidney shaped cells called as God cells. So all these are the parts of the dermal tissue only. So what are the functions of the dermal tissue? Dermal tissue gives protection to the plant body from the harmful microorganisms. So the microorganism will not easily enter into the plant body because of the presence of dermal tissue. And dermal tissue protects the plants from severe water loss. If the dermal tissue is not present, the water which is present in the plant body is evaporated. So these are the main function of the dermal tissue. And in dermal tissues, we observe that when some plants like acacia neem, tumma, vepa secretes gum-like substance. So the gum also one of the part of dermal tissue. Okay, if the dermal tissue is not there, the plants will attacked by so many type of harmful microorganisms, and the water is lost, and plant cannot survive. Okay, so this is the importance of dermal tissue in the plant body. Next, ground tissue is there, vascular tissue is there. We discussed later about the ground tissue and vascular tissue in the next class. Children, I hope all of you completed the written work of first lesson. If you complete the first lesson thoroughly, read the first lesson one time. Okay, in short period of time I will conduct one small test for you. Thank you, children.